Hi there, my name is Ben Corrie and I've been up for almost 48 hours working on MS-DOS support for Project Bonneville, which is basically DOS for Docker. What I want to do is I want to show you exactly what we've managed to achieve. So let's start with the Bonneville appliance that we've installed. You'll see this is the Docker host IP, and I've set that Docker host environment variable in each one of these command prompts. So what we have here is we have our own Docker repository that has some MS-DOS images loaded into it that we prepared earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a completely clean slate and just run from our repository our MS-DOS 6.22 image. So we've got to wait for the downloads, wait for the extraction. So what it's going to do is it's going to boot a VM from a floppy that gives us minimal MS-DOS support. It's then going to attach the images that are downloaded, and there we go, straight to the A prompt. It's going to here's the boot disk that we created, which is kind of the minimum that we need. And what it's done is it's actually attached the layered file system, which we've done in FAT16 because we need to for DOS. The FAT16 layered file system is basically attached to C. Now, what happens is when the A drive boots, it runs autoexec.bat. It then invokes whatever autoexec.bat there is on C so that whatever's in C can be initialized and you've got the environment that you want. So let's actually just go and just to show you that we're not cheating here, if I do a docker ps, there you go, there's our Docker container running. If I do docker images, there you go, there's our Docker image downloaded. So that's all good. So the next thing I want to show you is that we can actually do Docker files. We can build Docker images from Docker files. So I'm going to build lemmings into a Docker file. So I have lemmings here unzipped on my local file system, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from our base image, and our base image is simply just an empty autoexec.bat, right? So if you don't necessarily need all the stuff that comes with a particular release of MS-DOS, you can just base your container directly off base, which gives you the bare minimum that you need. Okay, so we're almost done building the Docker file, and there we go. There's our Docker file. So if we do Docker images, there's our lemmings Docker file. Okay, so let's type docker run -it lemmings. What we should see is we should see our lemmings directory in the C drive because that's now the top layer of our image layers. So there we go. Okay, here's our A prompt. Let's go to C. There you go. So remember what I said, we built lemmings off the base image, so we don't really have any sort of extraneous DOS utilities or anything other than what it booted with on the A drive. So if we look in lemmings, there's the lemmings application. Now you'll notice in here there's an empty autoexec.bat, but there's also a directory called tether, which has a couple of really useful bits of information in about connecting to this container. So if I do type tether and VMID, that's actually going to give me the ID of this VM in ESX, which is going to allow me to hook up the graphics. So if I go to here, add the ID on the end, and if we give this a little moment to start up, we should now actually be able to get the graphics exported. So if I go to, while that's starting up, if I go to lemmings, lemmings, there we go, and the command is VGA lemi, and then -v for VGA, and then -p for PS2 support. So there you go. This is basically the console of our container. So let's start that, and here we go. We've got lemmings running. So what I can do, let's actually show that it works. Let's go for one player, space to continue. There we go. There's our lemmings running. How cool is that? Now I'm going to show you one other cool thing that you can do. Now if I actually, so if I exit out of this and return for the menu and then exit again. Okay, so that's thrown me straight back into the TTY. Now what I can do is if I want to create a Docker image from changes that I make on the file system, it works just like Linux. So what I'm going to do is instead of having to type VGA lemi -v-p, I'm actually going to make a batch file that does that for me. So if I do echo and then VGA lemmi -v-p, and then pipe that to lemmings.bat. Let's just try that, lemmings.bat. That should now run lemmings again, which it did. Okay, that's good. So exit out of there. So now we're back into our lemmings directory. Now what we can do is, let's just do docker ps. All right, there's our lemmings. So docker stop, let's stop the lemmings. And then what we'll do once that's stopped, it takes quite a while to stop because currently we don't have the support in to stop it cleanly, so it actually has to go in and try and sort of force stop it. Hopefully in a second, there we go, that's completed. Now what we can do is we can do docker ps-a. There is our lemmings container. So if I do docker commit and then the ID of that container, and then let's call that lemmings bat. So that's the lemmings with the batch file. That's now going to commit that as a Docker image into our images, which of course we could push up to our repository if we wanted to. So give it 1 second. Why are we waiting for this? This should complete quicker. There we go. All right. So Docker images. Okay, here is our lemmings bat image. So now in here I should be able to type docker run -it lemmings bat, and if we have done everything right and all the stars have aligned, then our image should have given us the batch file that we wanted. Okay, it's taking a little while. There we go. Phew! Okay, so cd lemmings, and let's just type lemmings. Haha! There we go. So our file system image has saved the diff, and everything just works. Unfortunately, now, of course, we don't have the the graphics attached to this, but no problem. You know, we've demonstrated what we need to demo, and that's the basics of DOS in Docker.